cat beg like Rowena does. That's because she loves her Austin. She loves you so much. She loves you so much. Yes, she does. Huh? No, she wasn't. She wanted to eat. She was hungry. You denied that precious sister of yours food. Ow. Huh? Aw, Rowena, did your brother deny you food, baby girl? That's just your baby girl.
I'd rather deal with a begging dog.
Oh, don't you talk about your sister like that. No, it's your sister. That's your sister. You ready to read? Hey, everybody. Good evening. No. Eddie and Austin are fussing because Rowena is a beggar. That ain't my fault. It isn't my fault. I said it's Eddie's fault because when I was sick, he fed her roast.
She's a pain in the ass.
She is not. She is not. Anyways, we had to move bedtime stories in the kitchen because Eddie is. Gary, watch MASH. Oh my gosh, Jeannie, yeah. He wouldn't feed the baby. Isn't that terrible? Our poor little Rowena. That sweet little innocent girl. Look at her. She's just so innocent up there cleaning herself. Right, Rowena? How are y'all tonight? I see some people. Hey, Jeannie and Deb, Monica, and Darcy's with us. Y'all, Darcy works at a nursing home. We love Darcy. Monica, he is a bad brother. That's right. Hey, Linda. Hey, Jeannie. All our Jeannies are here. Hey, Rose. Hey, Diane. Hey, Crystal. Crystal, how's your family? Hey, Kim. How's your aunt? Hey, Cindy. Hey, Luann. I know, Deb. Poor Rowena. Hey, Linda. Hey, Tammy. I don't think that, it's not that Austin doesn't love her. I just don't think that they're used to cats. Like, I'm starting to get used to her. And, like, I'm making her into a dog, like when I take her on my trips. But Austin is just like, ooh, they don't know about, like, Jack is scared to death of her. So I guess they just don't know anything about cats. So he likes her, I think. Don't you, Austin?
Yeah.
So supper's late tonight. Normally I like to eat early, but Eddie wanted to go to the lot. And I literally like to be in my pajamas. So last night after we had our thing, my phone was ringing. I don't know if y'all remember during last night's bedtime stories. And it was 5 of my sorority sisters from UK, and they get together and have cocktails over Zoom or Skype or what, FaceTime or whatever. And so they're like, Granny, they called me Granny in college because I always went to bed early. And they'd say, Granny, are you already in your pajamas? I'm like, well, yeah, it's almost time for my bedtime. So I ended up being on the phone with them for like 2 hours. So I was late getting to bed last night. So anyways, I'm doing good, Tammy. I'm doing good. Did you tell I have the same sweater on as I had this morning? Amy Boyles is here. Say hi to Amy. No, Amy, I haven't been getting my hair done. But you can kind of see the gray coming in. But that's okay. I don't care. But I do have somebody that'll come to the house and do the kids. Like we just had Austin go and get some stuff done. Hey, Jane. Hey, Laura. yeah, bless her heart. Yes, Darcy, we love you. Thank you for taking care of our elderly folks. My aunt, I don't know if y'all remember a few years ago when I got Annie, you know who Annie has passed. Well, my aunt, she has, obviously went to a nursing home when all that happened a few years back, and I was guardianship of her, and then we transferred that to Lexington where my parents are. So she's in a nursing home. She has Alzheimer's. So I've been really, really, really upset because we haven't got to see her, obviously. And I'm afraid that when all this is over, she's not going to remember us. So I've had pizzas sent to them and different various things. So they thanked me on their Facebook page and put a picture up of her while she was eating pizza. And then my mom and my dad went over there and dropped off some goodies for the nursing staff. And they took her to the window because she's on the third floor. And she said, "Oh, yeah, there's John Robert and his wife." And she just turned around and walked back to her room. So actually, we had just moved her. She was in her own apartment, but recently she's had to move to just a floor with just a bedroom and a communal. So that's been kind of hard, but they've posted pictures now twice of her. So that's been good. So Darcy, you love up on them people. And there's no COVID cases yet in her thing. Oh, good. And you caught up on the first 2 chapters. Did you did you go and get the book? Because if you don't have the book, it's free on Amazon. I think it's free everywhere. Like if you have a Nook, but you should check it out. Crystal, I'm glad you guys are good. Hey, Michelle. Yeah, Deb, he did have to think about that, didn't he? Oh, hey, Amy. I was not a Kappa. My niece is a Kappa at UK currently. I was a Papa. So, let's see. Oh, I love that some of your nursing homes will FaceTime. Actually, a good friend of mine in my high school, she is one of my aunt's nurses. So there is some legality to that, but she does keep me posted on how my aunt is doing. And so when I first moved my aunt there, because it's a very swanky nursing home facility, they have an indoor pool, they have a movie theater, they have 3 or 4 cafes, everything is white cloth. And so when I first moved her there, we got all her furniture up here in Cincinnati. It was a Thanksgiving. You guys, if you scroll back, you'd see it. But it's been like 4 years. I'm sure a lot of you remember it because Eddie and me and the boys took a U-Haul on Thanksgiving and trucked all her furniture down to Lexington, and we set up her apartment like her house was. And obviously she went from a 3-story fancy house to this 1-room apartment type thing. But we put her kitchen table in there with all her kitchen napkins, and she's a little fancy. And then we hung up her dishes that she had around the kitchen. And we put the family room furniture exactly the way it was, her bedding, and with her side tables, the way everything in her medicine cabinet was the same. So when we took her over there, she's like, "Where are you taking me? Aren't you taking me home, Tanya?" I'm like, "Oh, you are home." And she's like, "Huh?" I'm like, "Yeah, you've been here for like 2 weeks." So that was a little rough, but yeah, so I'm lucky enough to be able to know people, obviously, since we're from there, to be able to keep an eye on her. Jane, I'm glad you're here. Glad you got the book. Oh, Darcy, you're so sweet. Thank you for that, really. And I watched the first 2 readings. No problem. You don't even have to get the book. You can just listen to me. So Michelle saw on Facebook today they were playing tic-tac-toe on the windows of some nursing home's family outside. That's a great idea. A friend of mine up here, her mom is in a nursing home, and she has all her faculties. And so she's in there because of mobility issues. And so they actually get on a ladder and talk to their mom. So, hopefully my sweet Aunt Ann will be fun. When I was a kid, Aunt Ann lived here, and I lived in Lexington. And both her boys had cystic fibrosis, and they both passed away in the 70s. And so they just kind of came like my second set of parents, and then they became like a second set of grandparents to my kids. And so I used to come up here during the summer, and that's when Nordstrom's is downtown and Saks Fifth Avenue. And she would say, come on, Tanya, let's go shopping. I'd be like, okay. And we would walk in the store and they'd be like, Ann, come here, Ann, I've been holding something back for you. And we would come home with tons of stuff. And she would stuff it in the closet so my uncle couldn't see. That was a lot of fun. Because she was so fun. And she loved Home Shopping Network too. So crazy times. But anyways, that's for Darcy because I'm so appreciative of her. But we are here because I'm reading bedtime stories, and we have been doing A Charming Crime, and we are on the 3rd chapter. And if you need to catch up, you can scroll down and listen to the bedtime stories from the previous couple of nights. I'm in the kitchen tonight because Eddie is in the other room watching MASH. He has decided to watch MASH in there, which is fine because I like being in here anyways. I love being in my kitchen. And we will look at Rowena one more time. See if y'all can see her. Hey, Row! She ain't going to pay attention to me. Row! Oh, she's looking at something. Hey, Row! Huh. Yeah. Nope, not going to pay attention. She ignores me. Oh, well. All right. So, are you guys ready? Y'all saw my, I drink electrolyte water. So, I just got it out of my trunk of my car. So, that's why it's sitting there. I might have to grab one in a minute. Chapter 3. So, we left off yesterday where Oscar was trying to talk June into going to Whispering Falls, Kentucky. So, I don't know if you know how he came up with the name, but y'all remember I had a name the town contest in our Cozy Crew here 8 years ago. Actually, it was longer. That was like 9 years ago because it's 8 years anniversary. That's why I picked the book. And Bill Miller won the contest. And so forever we'll be grateful to Ann. And she's a local girl. So that was kind of fun. So chapter 3. Last night before Oscar left, he gave me directions to Whispering Falls. They didn't seem particularly hard to follow, and since the flea market was only open on the weekends and my lab had burnt down and I didn't have anything to do with myself, I jumped into the green machine, my two-tone green 88 El Camino, and headed towards Whispering Falls. I'd never been this far out of Locust Grove. The roads twisted and wound around bends, making me drive much slower than I and the green machine were used to. Oscar was right. About 30 minutes of swerves and curves, a clearing popped up as if it had magically appeared. I pulled over to the side of the road to get a better view of the town. A calmness came over me, something familiar, like I'd been there before. Nah, I shook my head. This didn't look like a place that was forgettable. Welcome to Whispering Falls, a charming village, the old beat-up wooden sign said. I smiled. It did have a ring to it. Meow, meow. Mr. Prince Charming crawled from underneath the seat and jumped next to me. What are you doing here? I picked him up and looked him square in the eyes and warned him. You're going to have to stay in the car. But I knew better. Many times I've tried to sneak out of the house over the past 15 years, but Mr. Prince Charming always either followed me or mysteriously showed up. The old green machine crept down the main street into Whispering Falls. Almost everyone on the sidewalk took time to stop what they were doing and wave at me. I didn't pay much attention to them because the town was nothing like Oscar had described it. It was as though someone came in and carved the town into the side of a mountain. The moss-covered cottage shops, were nestled deep in the woods and had the most beautiful entrances I'd ever seen. Each shop had a colorful awning displaying the name over top of the ornamental gated doors. It was a magical feel. Mr. Prince Charming paws were planted on the windowsill, and he stared out the window as if he knew this was a special place. I pulled the green machine into the parking space in front of Mystic Lights, the shop Isadora Solstice owned. I couldn't wait to see what was inside. The outside was definitely mystic. The hunter green wood doors was encased in the most beautiful stone archway. The heavy black metal door handles added to the old world charm. You stay here, I told Mr. Prince Charming, as if he understood me. I rolled the windows down a little to let some air in. Not like I was going to be in there for a long period of time, but just in case. With my purse strapped around my chest, I grabbed a cardboard box of homeopathic remedies from the bed of the El Camino and walked up the stone steps. I turned around to make sure the cat was okay, and he seemed to have found a nice sunny spot on the dashboard to curl up and nap. Excuse me! A petite, round woman used her elbow to push me out of the way and then opened the door. She looked back at me, gesturing with her stubby finger. She snarled, "Well, are you coming in or just standing there in everybody's way?" Yes, thank you. Tightly I held onto the box as though it was my comfort and followed the woman inside. If my intuition was right, and generally it was, she was not a happy soul. I decided that there was no way she could be a member of the Whispering Falls village. She certainly wasn't friendly. This woman was short, and her yellow turban didn't look good perched on top of her short, bleached blonde hair. The green and purple cloak perfectly covered what seemed to be a plump-sized woman. "Izzy, you have company!" The woman ran her eyes up and down, taking in every inch of me. She's not from here. "I'll be right out," Isadora yelled from the back of the building. I smiled politely at the woman and set my box of remedies on the glass counter. With my hands in my pocket, I walked around to see exactly what Isadora's shop sold. "Are you from another spiritual village?" There was a pensive shimmer in the shadow of her eye. "A spiritual what?" I laughed. The only spiritual anything I ever got was going to church with Oscar and Uncle Jordan from Darla's Little Tidbits of Karma wisdom. I didn't think so," she replied with a heavy sigh and walked into the other room. We were standing in the middle of some kind of light shop. Above our head were all sorts of hanging lights with all sorts of crazy shade designs. Some with stained glass, some with globe, but mostly chandelier type. I wondered if most of the houses in Whispering Fall had these type of decorative lights. I noticed a few snow globes in one glass case, but saw nothing to do with pharmaceuticals or remedies. They weren't like any snow globes I'd ever seen before. A few were sparkly, and the water was black, not clear like most of the snow globes I'd ever seen. I tilted my head to the side. I leaned in closer to get a better look. Ah! I jumped when a face appeared. Boom! The globe radiated purple with yellow lines rotating around like there was static in it, and then it went black. I squeezed my eyes shut and then opened them. It had to be one of those fancy musical snow globes with Halloween theme. "Do you think I like being cooped up in here?" A voice came out of nowhere. I pinched myself. I had to be in the middle of a nightmare. Ouch! I shook my arm in the air to shake it off the sting. I looked into the globe because it appeared to be dark inside. Still here, a woman's face appeared. She threw her head back and cackled. Her turban fell off. Did everybody in Whispering Falls wear a turban? I rolled up on my toes to see where she went. Her face appeared, taking up the entire globe, making it hard for me to see. What? What are you looking at? I scratched my head. If this wasn't a nightmare, what was it? I looked around Mystic Lights. The fake blonde was nowhere to be found. I looked at the round glass ball and asked, "Who are you? What are you?" "I'm Madame Torres, voice to the spirits. Who do you seek? Who shall I say seeks you?" She continued to babble more and more. I continued to stare, not able to wrap my head around what I was hearing. What is happening to me? I repeated over and over, though my intuition told me it was. My intuition told me it was happening. This is not happening to me. The more I repeated, the brighter the globe got. Silence! She screamed, causing her head to spin around. Whom do you seek, June? No one! I shook my head. Madame Torres was demanding. I seek no one. How do you know my name? A devil's curse seeks to destroy you. Lifts us up to the light and glide June through this stormy life. Her globe illuminated a bright purple and in a flash went to black like when I found it. No, don't you wish any evil spirits upon me? I picked up the globe and shook it. What are you doing? The woman approached. She stood stiff, her muscles tense. The blood seemed to have drained from her face. Did you see something? I looked at the snow globe again, but nothing was there. I put it back in its place. Obviously, my mind was playing tricks with me. Oh, welcome to my little part of the world, June. Isadora walked out of the door she had disappeared into earlier and held her long, skinny hand out. This time they weren't covered in gloves. She had a huge ring on the middle finger that looked like a sleeping cat. She must have noticed me staring at it. Oh, isn't it fabulous? With her long fingernails, she flicked the cat's back, open to reveal a tiny mouse with diamond eyes. I did notice you had a cat. Yes, Mr. Prince Charming. I tried to glance out the door, but couldn't see the green machine from here. My eyes wandered back to the snow globe. A light flickered. Meow, meow. Suddenly, Mr. Prince Charming was doing figure eights around my ankles. You brought him with you. Isadora clasped her hands together, bent down and picked him up. Oh, no, you don't want to do that, I warned her. He doesn't like to be picked up by anyone but me and, apparently, her. He was purring so loud, I was sure the woman in the snow globe could hear him. I'm sorry, I left him in the car. I took him from her and he bounced out of my arms. Mr. Prince Charming, how did you get in here? He's fine. We love cats, don't we, Anne? Isadora looked over at the woman. Anne was bent over rubbing her back. You do, Anne snarled. She made her way behind the counter and she sat down on the stool and continued to knead her back with her fist. Isadora turned to me and tried to disguise her annoyance. Were you looking at my crystal snow globes? She pointed to the glass case. I was, and I've never seen snow globes like that. The one that I had seen with the face in was glowing. They sure do make them fancy now, sort of like those crazy 8 balls. Well, they are special. They work off people's energy. She chose her words carefully. Now then, let's get back to take a look at your homeopathic cures. Anne, do you think you can do your job and watch the shop? Anne's eyes narrowed and she sniffed. Of course I can. I took the box off the counter. Isadora spun on her black laced-up, pointy-toed, high-heeled boots and walked to the back of the shop. Mr. Prince Charming and I followed her. Her wavy blonde hair swung side to side along her shoulder blades, in step with her long, black A-line skirt. Don't mind her. Isadora pointed toward the front of the shop, referring to Anne. She only works here as a favor. She couldn't keep a job in Whispering Fall for the life of her. Now it's my turn to put up with her and her gimpy back. My brows lifted in amusement. I didn't know Anne or Isadora for that matter, and it was none of my business. I think Oscar might have misled you about what I do. I set the cardboard box on the desk and opened it up. I took out the prettiest bottle I had. Gently I held the lime green glass bottle with the tiny lizard cork on top. The glass had a hint of swirly gold throughout the bottle. Stunning, Isadora gasped, taking the bottle. She opened it up and smelled the contents. I don't have cures, just homeopathic remedies that might or might not help what ails you, I stuttered. No, not cures. Darla's recipes were never potent. Her long lashes cast a dark shadow on her cheeks. With her eyes still closed, she wrapped her long, thin hands around the delicate bottle and drew in a long, deep breath. She smiled. We would love for you to open up a shop here. Her eyes popped open. She set the bottle on the desk. She walked around the desk and sat down. Slowly, she opened the drawer and pulled out a pack of papers. Now, we need you to fill out this application for the council, but don't worry, you're a shoo-in. Mr. Prince Charming jumped in her lap and dragged his tail along her pointy nose and down to her chin. I wasn't sure, but it looked like he was grinning. Oh no, I know we have something backwards. Open a shop? Where did that come from? I stood up and put the bottle back in the box. Talking snow globes, grinning cats, open a shop. Something definitely wasn't right here. What? Have I offended you? She stood up after the cat jumped out of her lap. You don't know anything about me. You don't have any idea what I do or even the homeopathic remedies I have and how they help. I wasn't about to agree to anything. I wasn't a doctor or an expert in the field of homeopathic medicine. I relied on my instincts and Darla's book. That was it. If I opened a real shop and gave someone the wrong dosage, I'd be in hot water, and that was something I tried to stay out of. As if she read my mind, she said, yes, I do know what the berries of strychnine tree smells like, and what they cure. Slowly, she crossed her arms in front of her, and Mr. Prince Charming did figure eights around her ankles. Traitor. Helps with a sore stomach, she grinned. Her snow-white teeth glistened. Damn, I bit the inside of the corner of my lip. She did get it right. What does belladonna cure? I snapped my finger at her. Belladonna was an ingredient I had never had luck with. Aha! She planted her elbows on the desk and drummed her fingers together. Are you trying to trick me, June Hill? Well, you're going to have to do better than that. She patted around her eyes with the tips of her finger. She pulled a container out of her desk drawer. Belladonna is the main ingredients used in my wrinkles. She held the container up, which wasn't as nearly as cute as my bottle, and I read the ingredients. Right again. Where did you find this? I had been looking for belladonna for years. The woman at the flea market would buy that stuff up like crazy. I will buy it from you when you open the shop. She stood up and then patted her fingers around her eyes. It only takes a couple of drops on your crow's feet. It only takes a little dose, Darla would say when she squeezed the berry between her finger and thumb, letting the bitter liquid drip on my tongue. Any more than that, and it'll kill you. June, are you okay? She asked. She stood over me. We don't have a doctor in Whispering Falls, and we could use some of your expertise in the homeopathic field. She and Mr. Prince Charming walked toward the front of the store, and I followed them. Listen, I'm not a doctor. I felt like I needed to reinforce my non-doctor speech. I'm just a girl from a Locust Grove trying to make a living selling stuff at a flea market. And as you can tell, when you drove into Whispering Falls, we are smaller than your average village. She twisted her arm and hands in the air, ignoring anything I had to say. We rely on the earth and nature, that universe that guides us. Let's just say we're more on the spiritual side. For a moment, I felt like I was talking to Darla again. She used to feed me that line of bull when I was a kid. Even though I thought it was bull then, I had really grown a dose of Darla since I took over. Somehow the remedies I had come up with really did work. Can I ask you what remedy you were working on when you blew up your shed? She stood still, but Anne Stoll creaked as she leaned a little closer. I have an issue with nightmares. I was trying to come up with a cure to help me. A little embarrassed to admit I was a grown woman who suffered from nightmares. Ah! Anne gasped, throwing her hands over her mouth. Taurus said nightmares. Did she say Taurus? I looked at the snow globe. Anne, could you please go to the back? Isadora's eyes suddenly darkened and she sent Anne away. She suffers from nightmares too. You could be such a help to us. Your friend Oscar said you were looking to expand. I guarantee you will not regret moving to Whispering Falls. She held the papers out for me to take. Move? My eyes clouded over and I grabbed the counter. Yes, if you own a shop in Whispering Falls, you have to live here. She flipped a couple pages in the packet and tapped rule number 2. I'll let you know. I took the packet. I needed to get out of here fast. Come on, Mr. Prince Charming, let's go home. I'll be waiting to hear from you, Isadora chirped as I walked out the green door. Excuse us! A couple of gray-haired women scurried to the side of the steps to let Mr. Prince Charming and me pass. Yes, excuse us! The shorter one giggled and practically hid behind the other one. Oh, so sorry. I passed with the intent on reaching my car fast. Oh, are you sick? Ooh, know someone dying? I heard one of them call after me. Yes, is someone dying? The other one asked, almost hopeful. Definitely an odd question to ask someone you didn't know. Nope, not that I know of. I brushed my bangs to the side so I could get a good look at them. No turbans. Unfortunately, Mr. Prince Charming must have thought that 2 was better than 1. He was doing double figure eights around their ankles. Mr. Prince Charming, stop! He moved faster when I tried to pick him up. He was never this friendly to anyone other than me. We like cats, the first one said, bending down and patting the ornery cat. Yes, we do. Apparently, the second one repeated everything the other one said. I picked him up anyways. I was increasingly becoming confused, and the only way out was to get out. I'm Constance Karima, she pointed to herself and then to her twin, and this is my twin Patience. Yes, I'm Patience, she giggled. Her green eyes sparkled as much as her teeth. Nice to meet you. I noted everyone's fantastic teeth. I ran my tongue along my front teeth and that barely overlapped the other. You'd never notice unless I pointed it out. Meow, Mr. Prince Charming made his presence known. And this is Mr. Prince Charming. I held him tight to my chest in case he decided to jump down. Have a great day. Constance stepped in front of me, creating a sudden wind tunnel. Her red housecoat swooshed back and forth from the breeze. Oh, my! She picked at her short hair nervously. So are you sick? Mr. Prince Charming kneaded my arm with his back paws. Hello, Karima sisters! The green door of Mystic Lights had flew open and Isadora stood in the shadows. Please let our guests leave. Mr. Prince Charming jumped down, arched his back, and he raced off and jumped in the back of the green machine. It was like a light switch had gone off and the wind had stopped. The Karima twins tilted their head and stared at Mr. Prince Charming with a scowl on their face. We were just trying to figure out if he was sick. Patience's long finger curled around, exposing a long black fingernail pointing towards my cat. Yes, sick, Patience repeated. Isadora's A-line skirt swayed as she gracefully walked down the steps, coming face to face with me and the Karima sisters. You'll have to forgive my dear friends, she said between them, placing a hand on each one of their shoulders. They own 2 sisters and a funeral, the only funeral home in town, and they are always looking for business. No, someone's definitely sick, Constance nodded to Patience, who nodded to Izzy. God, I hope I was nowhere near death. Even though my heart was about to pound out of my chest from sheer freaking out, Whispering Falls was definitely not for me. No one is sick, Izzy reassured everyone. Only it didn't make me feel any better. Wow, nice car, a voice from behind me. I spun around to find an older gentleman with the black coattails, a top hat, checking out the green machine. Side note, he has a British accent, but I can't do it. I haven't seen one of these since the 80s. He ran his glove down the side of it and then stopped when he reached Mr. Prince Charming, who was hoovering in the bed of the green machine. He took his hat off and bowed. Good day, sir. Meow, meow. I winked at Mr. Prince Charming. I had had enough too. It was time to go home and back to our real life. As a matter of fact, I couldn't wait to get my hands on Oscar Park and give him a piece of my mind. When I turned around, everyone was looking at Mr. Prince Charming as if he was the first cat they'd ever seen. I guess we better go. I gave a finger wave, trying not to be rude. Very nice. The man reached out and touched the turtle charm dangling from my wrist. Turtles mean protection, and your cat seems to know it. Slowly, I pulled my wrist away from his finger, causing the charm to slip from his grasp. I guess you could say that. I covered it with my other hand and brought it close to me. That's how my cat got his name. He showed up on my 10th birthday with this on his collar, and he's never left my side. He scratched the right side of his mustache and then pushed the round glasses up on his nose. I'm Jared Regulia. I own the Gathering Grove. You should stop in and have a cup. And bring your friend. He glanced over my shoulder and looked at Mr. Prince Charming, who had jumped up on the green machine's roof and began to clean himself. Thank you. There wasn't any more time for me to spare. I had already wasted the few minutes I had been in Whispering Falls, and when I should have been in Locust Grove working on Darla's Mr. Sandman sprinkles. And, if I might add, you should stop by Bellatrix Baubles, he gestured down the road. She owns some amazing charms to add to your collection. I followed Gerald's eyes because he wasn't talking to me. He was talking to Mr. Prince Charming. And for a second, I could have sworn I saw Mr. Prince Charming nod. Look, that was chapter 3. All right, so you guys hung in there, it looks like. So what do you think? Do y'all still love it as much as you did 8 years ago? I do. And I'm getting so excited about the next one. So it's up for pre-order. I haven't linked it yet, but I did get it up for pre-order. So what did you guys think? Anybody have any comments before we head off? I love it. Anything that stood out in that chapter? Deb, yes and more. Yes, Deb, I know. I love them. Loving it. Me too, Jeannie. Ah, what a great book. Yeah, I need more too. Love it. That was good. Aw, thanks, Rose. Thanks, Lou Ann. Thanks, Ashley. Thanks, Jane. It's interesting because the cover artist for this, she's an author. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of cover artists 8 years ago doing cover art. And so an author was doing it for me, and she wasn't a self-published author, so she was really excited. She's like, well, if you teach me self-publish, I'm going to help do your covers. And so she would hand draw the covers. And although I had found her on a stock photo, I had and bought her off the images, but the cover artist would still like hand sketch some of the covers and then say, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So I thought that I'll pull those out and post those in the group because it's really cool to see how covers were coming together like that. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people don't do that now because of all the digital. But my Crooked Lane books, the Southern Cake Baker series, their artists actually hand drew my covers before they made it into a book cover. So I have those renderings as well, which is really cool. So I'll have to post those later. So there is more to Mr. Prince Charming than meets the eye. That's right. So funny stories, El Camino. So when I was growing up, my dad drove an El Camino. And so it was, I was in high school and he held 2 jobs down. He was a manager at IBM, which was, he was over top of the typewriters, the assembly line for the typewriters. So I had every typewriter you could possibly imagine. At the time, it was the Electrolux, the big, heavy brown ones. And then you had the balls to change in and out the fonts. And so, and then of course he went to computers. So when I was in college, like all my college friends were just like so impressed because we had a brother all of them had like Brother Word processors, and I had a computer. So it was fun. But anyway, so my dad worked at IBM. He would go to work at 4:30 in the morning and get home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then he worked at IBM for insurance. But for income, he was a builder. So he would come home at 4, change out of his suit, and then he would go to work on one of the houses. So literally growing up, I lived in 14 different houses. And on one street, I lived in 4 different houses. And he would put the house up for sale. He would put both houses up for sale. So if our house sold, we moved into the other house. If the other house sold, we moved into that house. So we moved 14 times. But anyway, so he drove this El Camino. And the rule is that there were no boys in the house after school. So my dad's El Camino whistled, and people knew it. Like it would go, like you could hear it for like a mile away. It'd be like, and the closer he got, the louder it got. And so people would say, "Oh, here comes John Robert," and so it would whistle. And I was 16, maybe 15, and I would be sitting on just in the family room, not doing anything. But I would be sitting in the family room with my boyfriend, and he wasn't allowed in the house. But my mom was at work, and I knew that Dad got home generally about 4:30. So we would leave the window open so we could hear the El Camino before it came up the street, and then we would run outside and sit on the porch. So he had a green El Camino. So that was a lot of fun. It's terrible. So that's why my kids could never get away with anything. Because I always tell them there was nothing they could do that I didn't do, and I did it better. But anyway, so that's why the El Camino is in there, because it was a fun, and I always loved that commercial. You remember, it's a truck, it's a car, it's a truck, it's a car. No, you're both right. It's an El Camino. Do y'all remember that commercial? So, yeah, showing my age, right? So that's okay. It was all good fun. So anyways, so Cindy said she loved it. Yeah, I love all the details too. Thanks for the cool cover. Becky said she's loving it. She hasn't read the series. Good, Becky. I'm glad. I'm jealous because I love the series. And you just finished your first Kenny Lowry. That's cool. Thank you. That series is not continuing. I'm just going to forewarn you, not continuing. The publisher and I parted ways. And it wasn't pretty. So, anyways, maybe I'll get the rights back to them one day. Who knows? I don't have the rights to those, so I can't write any more in those. So that was very sad to me. Let's see. That's part of the business that we don't like to talk about. Laura had one of those Electrolux typewriters. Thanks, Kim. I'm glad you enjoyed listening. And yeah, Deb remembered the story or the commercial. Laura, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you probably, well, I don't know, Darcy, you're pretty young, but you probably did at some point. And they probably played them in the 80s. Who knows? But anyways, guys, tomorrow night we're going to read chapter 4. And let's see how long it is. So it doesn't seem that long. So maybe we should read chapter 4 and chapter 5. Yeah, we'll read chapter 4 and chapter 5. Does that sound good? Awesome. All right, you guys. Well, that was the end of Bedtime with Tanya. And if you don't have the book, which most of us do, remember it's free wherever ebooks are sold. So it's at, we're going to read chapters 4 and 5, Jeannie, tomorrow night. So I hope you guys have a great night. I'm actually going to head upstairs.